Welcome to Mindset in Stone podcasts, where we dive deep into the most compelling books on the shelf. Join hosts Dave and Poppy as they uncover the stories, themes, and ideas that shape our understanding and inspire curiosity. Get ready to explore the big ideas that leave a lasting impact. Let's get started.
Welcome to the Mindset in Stone podcast. Today, we're going to unpack a concept that I think holds so many of us captive.
It really does, and often we don't even realize the depth of the cage we're in.
Exactly. We're diving into the relentless, stifling, and often unconscious pursuit of perfection.
And this deep dive is inspired by a really insightful and, frankly, revolutionary book.
It is. It's Brave, Not Perfect, Fear Less, Feel More, and Live Bolder by Reshma Saujani.
Our mission today is, well, it's vital for anyone who has ever felt stuck or paralyzed by that fear of not being perfect.
Right. We want to diagnose the cultural conditioning that traps us in this perfect or bust mindset.
And then look at the shockingly high costs of this thinking in your real daily life.
And most importantly, provide some concrete strategies. So Johnny calls them bravery muscle exercises.
Yes, ways to cultivate courage and step into a much bolder, more fulfilled existence.
The book starts with this hook that is just so honest and powerful.
It's all about the author's own massive, very public defeat.
So back in 2010, Reshma Saujani, who was a successful corporate lawyer and finance exec, ran for U.S. Congress.
She was only 33, no elected experience, and she was challenging a really powerful incumbent.
She went all in, though. Had serious backing, got positive national attention.
I mean, financial news networks were calling it one of the country's hottest races to watch.
On paper, she was the perfect candidate, doing everything right.
But the outcome...
She's got absolutely clobbered.
Just 19% of the vote. I mean, that's public humiliation on a grand political scale. She realized that this colossal, agonizing failure, this public defeat, was the first truly brave act she had ever taken in her adult life.
And that's such a profound realization to have.
It is, because if you looked at her resume before that, Yale Law, prestigious corporate jobs, you'd assume she was a courageous risk taker.
She had the perfect pedigree. Flawless, right?
But she explains that those earlier choices weren't really driven by bravery or even by passion.
They're driven by what?
By this overwhelming desire to cultivate the perfect resume, to meet everyone else's expectations, especially her immigrant father's.
So she was choosing the safe, predictable paths, the ones where success was almost guaranteed.
Exactly. The accomplishments were impeccable, yes, but they weren't brave because there was nothing truly on the line.
No risk of public shame, no chance of failing to meet that gold standard.
Running for Congress was the first time she intentionally went off script. She risked her dignity, her carefully curated reputation,
For something she deeply believed in, even though the odds were stacked against her.
and that moment of embracing failure, that became her new definition of a personal, brave leap.
That realization leads us right into part one, which is deconstructing how this perfect girl programming even begins.
And the research shows it starts disturbingly early. I mean, almost immediately after birth.
The training for perfection is so deeply embedded in our culture. It starts with this subtle, continuous feedback.
There are studies that have shown that even when babies are dressed in, neutral colors, adults interpret their emotions differently based on perceived gender.
How so?
Well, if an infant is showing distress or anger, adults are more likely to label those expressions as strong or mad if they think the baby's a boy.
Okay. And if they think it's a girl?
Then they're far more likely to categorize those exact same expressions as nice or happy or agreeable.
So that simple act of labeling just sets the stage immediately.
It does. Girls get assigned this expectation of being pleasant and agreeable. It's that whole sugar and spice and everything nice thing.
And that early conditioning installs this overpowering, lifelong need to please others.
Right. To the point where you subordinate your own needs and opinions just to maintain harmony.
And you can see this play out in behavioral science in these really fascinating but also kind of disheartening ways.
Like the salty lemonade experiment the book talks about.
Okay, tell us about that.
Researchers gave groups of boys and girls a glass of objectively awful, undrinkable lemonade. They'd swapped the sugar for salt.
So what happened?
The results were stark. The boys immediately reacted, dramatically. That's disgusting, and they'd push the drink away.
They prioritized their own honesty and comfort.
Exactly. The girls, though, they politely drank it, smiling, even choking it down to finish the sample.
Why?
When the researchers finally pressed them, the vast majority said they didn't want to make the researchers feel bad.
So they would literally rather ingest something nauseating than risk causing offense or disapproval.
That tells you everything you need to know about internalizing that need to be accommodating at all costs.
That's the yes girl
Right.
and the habitual yes woman who's just constantly trapped trying to prove her worth by being selfless.
And this compulsion, it goes way beyond simple politeness. It radically alters how you approach risk, failure, and competence.
This is where that divergence in how genders are socialized gets really stark.
Especially around challenges, both physical and intellectual. Boys are trained to be adventurous.
Right, they're encouraged to explore, play rough, fall down, and get back up.
And they often get praised just for taking chances, for the effort, for the attempt. Even if it's not successful, they're groomed to be resilient.
Girls, on the other hand, are often given more assistance, more caution. They're protected from the sharp edges.
And the crucial message they get is that failure is anything less than an A plus A. There's no middle ground.
If it's not perfect, it's a failure. And failure is defined as this colossal, devastating thing to be avoided at all costs.
And this intense avoidance of failure, it directly fuels what Stanford psychologist Carol Dweck calls the fixed mindset.
Okay, let's unpack this fixed mindset deeply because this is where the fear becomes so debilitating. What are the core tenets?
A person with a fixed mindset basically believes that their abilities and intelligence are innate. They're unchangeable traits.
You're either smart or you aren't, talented or untalented, and effort can't really change that.
Exactly. And the hallmarks of this mindset are a deep concern about making mistakes, because mistakes expose your deficiencies.
And a reluctance to try anything that might reveal you're not inherently good enough.
And, critically, they take any failure or imperfection as a definitive measure of their entire personal worth.
It's an immediate condemnation of your character, not just a temporary setback you can correct.
Yes. So if you miss a deadline, you don't just think, I mismanaged my time. You spiral into, I'm an incompetent professional.
Or, on a personal level, if you forget something at the grocery store, it's not, oops, it's, I'm a bad parent.
Exactly. The fixed mindset takes one isolated incident and uses it as proof of a permanent flawed identity.
And what's so damaging is that this fixed mindset is often reinforced in girls because they get less process praise.
We should clarify what process praise is because it's so vital for building bravery.
Right. Go ahead.
Process praise focuses on effort, strategy, perseverance. Sticking with a hard task, not on your innate ability.
So instead of saying, you're so smart, which reinforces that fixed idea,
and makes you afraid to try anything that might challenge that label.
you'd say something like, I noticed the complex strategy you used to solve that. Tell me about your steps.
Precisely. And because girls are so often praised for being nice or smart, that's person praise, when they encounter difficulty, they internalize it as proof they aren't smart.
And so they give up, or they hide their struggle.
This is exactly what Saujani saw with students in her organization, Girls Who Code.
What were they doing?
Students would work on their code, but if it wasn't immediately perfect, if they ran into bugs or errors, they would delete the entire project.
Rather than showing the imperfect progress to their instructors.
Yes, they would rather show a blank screen than show an incomplete or messy draft.
That is the ultimate expression of perfection or bust.
The fear of being found out, of showing a deficiency, it just overrides the desire to actually learn and finish the task.
And this plays out so dramatically in professional settings, it holds women back.
The book references that famous corporate report that found men are likely to apply for a job when they meet only 60% of the qualifications.
While women, conversely, wait until they meet 100%.
Think about the sheer volume of opportunities lost just because of that gap.
That need to be flawless before you even attempt a professional leap. It's a direct inhibitor to your career, to innovation.
It just shows how profoundly that belief that you must be flawless interferes with actual opportunity.
If you're terrified of exposing a weakness, you just wait. You wait until you can guarantee success.
And in the real world, genuine guaranteed success is exceptionally rare. You have to be willing to leap when you're 60% ready.
So if that's the programming of our childhood and early career, what happens when the perfect girl grows up?
We move into what Saujani calls perfection 3.0, where all that pleasing and politeness starts to actively backfire.
Let's talk about the first major consequence. It's rooted in what the book calls myth number 1.
The idea that polished equals perfect. It's the illusion that maintaining a flawless exterior, how you look, how you speak, how perfect your life appears, provides some kind of shield from criticism.
So that perfect veneer becomes a kind of emotional armor. It's a control mechanism.
Exactly. I'm reminded of the anecdote about the entrepreneur who gets her hair and makeup professionally done before pitching to investors.
Right. She basically said, it's as if they can't challenge me if I have a blowout.
She believes that polished exterior gives her control over perception. But the control is just an illusion.
And that obsessive polishing, the effort spent hiding anxiety and self-doubt, it takes a catastrophic toll on your resources.
We really need to pause and absorb the time commitment involved here.
This is the crushing detail. The book notes that, on average, a woman spends 127 hours per year fretting about her weight and body obsession.
127 hours. Over a lifetime, that can literally amount to one full year, 247, just devoted to that.
One full waking year of your life spent purely on that fixation. And that's not even counting the hours spent on actual appearance to maintain the armor.
And it starts so young. 81% of 10-year-old girls are already afraid of being overweight.
This isn't just vanity. It's profound anxiety driven by an impossible standard.
Absolutely. I mean, think of what you could create, what you could learn with 127 hours of focused, brave energy instead of that self-scrutiny.
It really highlights that perfection isn't just a mental state. It's a profound time suck.
Then you have myth number 2. Once everything is perfect, I'll be happy.
Yes, the script. Get the right education, land the prestigious job, find the perfect partner.
Have the 2.5 kids, buy the ideal house. But the problem is, chasing this externally defined perfection doesn't guarantee internal fulfillment.
And we see this in hard data. There was that seminal 2009 study, The Paradox of Declining Female Happiness.
Right, and it showed that despite decades of increased opportunities, higher wages, all the things that were supposed to liberate us,
Women's overall reported happiness levels have actually declined over the past 25 years.
and the author sees this all the time. Highly successful women who feel deeply stuck.
Like the 58-year-old magazine editor who is miles past burned out, but won't leave her job.
Simply because it's what I'm good at. The perfect path so often leads to this hollow, soul-crushing inertia.
Because you're prioritizing competency over passion.
Exactly. You're choosing the path of least resistance, the thing you can guarantee you'll ace, instead of the thing that lights your soul on fire but carries the risk of failure.
That distinction, it brings us to another myth. Myth number 4. Perfection is the same as excellence.
This is such a critical differentiation we have to internalize.
Okay, break it down for us.
Excellence is liberating. It's a way of being. It allows you to take pride in your effort, your progress, the grit you showed, regardless of the final outcome.
So it's focused on the process and the learning.
Yes. Perfection, on the other hand, is an unhealthy all-or-nothing obsession that actually impedes achievement.
It's marked by that debilitating overthinking, analysis paralysis, micro-revising.
And the constant feeling that nothing is ever truly good enough, which just leads to burnout before you even launch.
So how do you know you've crossed that line from excellence into perfectionism?
It's when the drive to be great turns into an anxious fixation on flaws. It often shows up as procrastination because if you can't guarantee perfection, you'd rather not start at all.
Saujani gives a really powerful example of this from her own life.
Her TED Talk, it's been viewed millions of times, hailed internationally as this inspiring speech, a clear moment of excellence.
A huge professional triumph.
But when she watched the video herself, all she could focus on was her physical presentation.
What specifically?
Her overly curled hair and makeup that looks ridiculously vamped up. That's a direct quote.
So perfectionism completely robbed her of the joy from her own professional excellence.
It did. She was fixating on the one thing that was less than 100% perfect, and it completely overshadowed the profound positive impact she had on millions of people.
And that's the ultimate cost, isn't it? Perfection strips away your ability to celebrate genuine, excellent achievement.
And, while the book focuses heavily on the socialization of girls, we should pause and acknowledge that this pursuit of perfection impacts everyone.
That's a really important point.
If you're a male listener, you might not have the salty lemonade pressure to be nice, but you might feel intense pressure to take on high-risk ventures or suppress emotional vulnerability.
So this framework, the fixed mindset, the anxiety of the polished exterior, it's valuable for everyone trying to live more authentically.
Absolutely. Perfection is a human trap, even if the cultural scripts that create it differ.
And under all of these myths is the big one. Failure is not an option.
Right. And if failure isn't an option, then neither is true risk-taking.
This is why perfection inevitably strangles bravery. We're so afraid that falling short means we'll look foolish, be forever defined by that one failure.
And that the emotional decimation that follows will be irreversible.
But the truth, as the book stresses again and again, is that failing is an option, and it's a necessary one for growth.
If you want to achieve anything outside your current comfort zone, you have to embrace the possibility of spectacular public failure.
You have to adopt the mindset of getting caught trying.
Absolutely. And moving forward means accepting that, a decade of training to be the perfect girl doesn't just disappear overnight.
You have to intentionally kiss that need for perfection goodbye and embark on the intentional path to being brave.
And that's the critical pivot, redefining bravery itself.
We have to move away from the traditional kind of narrow definition of courage. It's not just about physical feats like bungee jumping.
Bravery today is much broader, more complex, and deeply personal. It includes those physical leaps, sure, but it's primarily about difficult life choices.
Choices that challenge your identity or your security.
So running for office and risking a humiliating loss is bravery, but so is trying for IVF after 3 miscarriages.
Or completely rebooting a career you've had for decades. These non-physical acts require immense emotional courage.
Bravery is that internal declaration that you will pursue authenticity and joy, even when it defies expectations.
I love how Saujani encapsulates this. She calls it being the hot dog in a world full of princesses.
It's a great analogy. It comes from the 5-year-old girl who shows up for Princess Week at dance class, dressed loudly and proudly as a hot dog.
That is daring to rock who you are without apology, even when the environment demands conformity.
That is personal bravery. Showing up as your authentic self.
So when you start to redefine bravery on your own terms as an act of authenticity and vulnerability, you can start actively building those resilience muscles.
Which brings us directly to our first practical takeaway for cultivating a bravery mindset.
Practical takeaway 1. Prioritize self-care as radical bravery. Now this sounds almost counterintuitive, doesn't it?
It does, but the book makes a crucial link. The author explicitly states that burnout is an instantaneous bravery killer.
A bravery killer, that's a powerful way to put it.
It is, because you cannot possibly muster the emotional energy, the mental stamina to take high-stakes risks if you're fried and running on fumes.
Risk-taking requires reserves. When you're wiped out, your brain's only focus is on collapse and escape.
So the first step is radical self-care, prioritizing your health and energy above the demands of others.
This means actually not ignoring sickness. There's an anecdote about a woman who walked around with a painful sinus infection for 4 days.
But immediately dropped everything when her dog got sick. We apply a higher standard of care to others, even pets, than we do to ourselves.
So bravery means acknowledging your own essential needs first.
It also means taking dedicated me time, and this is where the bravery comes in.
Because saying yes to yourself often requires the courageous act of saying no to someone else's request.
Which deeply triggers that perfect girl conditioning to be accommodating.
And let's not discount sleep. The book is clear. You need 7 to 9 hours of quality sleep.
When you're tired, your prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain that manages risk assessment, is compromised. You default to the safer, more perfect path.
So getting rest is essential risk management.
Yeah.
Okay, what's next?
Practical takeaway 2. Claim the power of yet.
This comes directly from Carol Dweck's research on growth mindset. It's a simple linguistic hack that can create a monumental mental shift.
It is. When you catch yourself making a limiting, fixed mindset declaration like, I'm not brave, you just add that one small word to the end.
I'm not the kind of person who takes risks. Yeah.
This immediately reframes mistakes not as permanent flaws, but as temporary setbacks that allow for growth and progress.
It moves you out of what she calls the tyranny of now, where your current ability defines your permanent potential.
Right, to a place where you're growing toward a future potential. We see this used in creative fields, too.
The author Veronica Roth from the Divergent series, she trained herself to stop calling an imperfect draft garbage.
Instead, she'd say, this draft isn't excellent yet. It completely changes the internal narrative and allows you to move forward.
Okay, that's a great one. Takeaway number 3.
Practical takeaway 3. Do the drama versus wisdom test.
I like this. We get so paralyzed between cautious thought and destructive overthinking.
So when you're faced with a scary challenge and you feel yourself talking yourself out of it, you ask this question, is that your drama or your wisdom talking?
And how do you tell the difference?
The test is about discerning the nature of your internal voice. Wisdom feels calm, centered, it has a sense of peace, it provides rational analysis of risk based on data.
And drama.
Drama is whiny, nervous, and profoundly defensive. It operates with a sense of panic and generates a laundry list of excuses rooted purely in fear.
So if your internal monologue is making excuses or you feel like you have to defensively explain your choice to everyone, that's drama.
Exactly. It's time to call your own emotional BS. This test stops that spiral of overanalysis.
It forces a real assessment. Is this a genuine threat, which is wisdom? Or is it just social fear of looking foolish, which is drama?
And most of the time, that loud, panicky voice, it's just drama.
Okay, so that brings us to part 4, which is all about action strategies to actively build resilience.
Strategies centered on getting comfortable with being caught trying and nixing that deep-seated need to please.
Practical takeaway 4. Ask for feedback and surround yourself with rejection.
The typical perfectionist response to criticism is to spiral, to view it as a permanent indictment of your character.
The antidote is radical exposure therapy. You have to actively invite criticism, especially when you know you have room for improvement.
This builds immunity to the sting of rejection by normalizing it. It turns it from a catastrophe into simple data.
And we need to learn how to ask for feedback effectively.
Right. Instead of saying, "Did you like this report?" ask for specific, cold, hard feedback on something you suspect you didn't ace.
Like, I know the opening of this presentation was weaker than the rest. If you had to cut 30%, what would you eliminate first?
That specificity removes the ambiguity and focuses on process, not self-worth.
And that idea of surrounding yourself with rejection. So Johnny does this literally, right?
She does. She still has the rejection letter from Yale Law and one from her community board taped up on her fridge.
They're not symbols of failure, they're marks of bravery.
They prove you put yourself out there. You risked something, and the world kept turning. Displaying them takes away their power.
Practical takeaway 5. Start before you're ready. This is all about tackling analysis paralysis head on.
Right. That brilliant idea voice is so quickly silenced by the self-doubt voice, listing all the reasons you don't have 100% of the expertise to begin.
So the trick is just start. Forget the perfect 5-year plan.
The author is the founder of Girls Who Code, a massive organization, yet she started it without knowing how to code.
And without a background in tech or knowing how to start a nonprofit.
She just started by making phone calls. The action was incremental, but it created momentum. And momentum kills perfectionism.
There's that great quote from Cecile Richards, the former president of Planned Parenthood.
She almost didn't apply for her position because of self-doubt, but she said, "If you wait until everything lines up, it's over."
So the takeaway is to tackle the small hill first. Take action before you feel completely qualified.
Practical takeaway 6. Just say no.
This is often the single bravest act for women.
It is, because that perfect girl conditioning is so deeply tied up in being accommodating and nice, regardless of the personal cost.
The author says it's the #1 thing women struggle with. And it's brave because of the social backlash.
Right. When a woman says no, she risks being labeled difficult or uncooperative. Direct assaults on that nice identity.
So what's the strategy here?
Implement a strict value calculation. Before saying yes, ask yourself, what am I giving up by saying yes? What matters more?
And only say yes to choices that serve your highest priorities.
And if you're struggling to start, the practical application is to start small. Build the no muscle gradually.
Ask for one small thing a day that goes against your nature. Ask a colleague to read a report. Ask for your cold food to be reheated, directly and without apology.
Then you move to bigger asks. Negotiate a better price. Petition for flexibility at work.
You have to be direct and clear about what you're asking for without over-explaining or apologizing.
And just remember that salty lemonade analogy. Don't swallow something awful just to be polite. Spit it out.
Okay, one last big takeaway.
Practical takeaway 7. Take on a physical challenge and use your hands. This is a 2-part strategy.
Physical bravery builds resilience because on a field or in the gym, there's no room for being nice, polite, sweet, and clean.
You get dirty, you're competitive, you experience discomfort, and you learn to bounce back from literal setbacks.
The author talks about taking a surfing lesson even though she hates cold water and can't swim well, just for the bravery boost.
The failure wiping out is inevitable and temporary. It's not a deep character flaw. That reframes how you process mistakes.
And the second part? Using your hands?
This is about combating that learned aversion to frustration that often comes with mechanical or technical tasks.
Like fixing a leaky faucet or assembling IKEA furniture.
We need to start defaulting to helplessness when something breaks. When you attempt these tasks yourself, you're building self-efficacy.
You learn that it's the doing that counts, not the perfection of the finished product. You prove you can sit with frustration and figure it out.
And finally, let's talk about team bravery, the necessity of showing the mess behind the scenes.
That perfection ideal creates this glossy facade that just isolates us. We need to build what the book calls a sisterhood of strength.
There is no such thing as effortless perfection. The founders of the Skim had this flawless Vanity Fair article on their wall.
And they just laughed and revealed their corporate credit card had been declined less than an hour earlier.
Sharing those Advil-inducing moments, the messy failures, the near misses, is what allows for genuine, authentic connection.
Bravery is contagious, but only when it's vulnerable.
So the practical application is to share your embarrassing oops moments, participate in things like #FailureFriday online.
You are brave by letting yourself be vulnerable, and that authenticity paves the way for everyone around you to be real too.
Bravery isn't about guaranteed success, it's about accepting vulnerability and moving forward anyway. It transforms your relationships.
The core insight, as we wrap up this deep dive, is that perfection is just. It's fundamentally boring.
It is. It's the messy, unfinished edges, the flaws, the quirks that make life rich and interesting.
Bravery, unlike perfection's illusion of safety, is the only true armor there is.
It guarantees you'll be okay, even if things crash and burn. It doesn't promise you the outcome, but it promises you the resilience to handle whatever comes.
So we want to challenge you, the listener, to find your ledge, that one thing you're most afraid of doing.
And instead of asking yourself, what if I fail, which is the fixed mindset trap that keeps you small, we want you to practice mental time travel.
This is a technique popularized by the organizational psychologist Adam Grant.
Mentally fast forward 10 years, look back at this moment of paralysis and fear.
And then ask yourself this one question.
What will I regret more in 10 years? The momentary sting of failing spectacularly, or the deep lasting pang of what might have been?
The fear of regret is often a far more powerful and reliable motivator than the fear of failure. Go claim that bravery today.
We hope you're leaving with fresh insights and a spark of inspiration. Remember to subscribe, leave a review, and check back for more episodes as we dive into new worlds of thought, one book at a time. Until then, keep your mind set in stone and your curiosity open. This has been a Big L Riz Media podcast, where big ideas meet lasting impressions.